Hello and welcome to AllMonsters Go to Space, as today we look at two human subspecies from the world of sci-fi, the Eloi and the Morlocks, from H.G.Wells' 1895 novel The Time Machine, taking a close look at how across two film adaptions of this classic story, the Eloi and the Morlocks have been changed into a completely different species to what we see in the novel, with the first film adaptation being made in 1960 and directed by Gordon Powell, and the second being the 2002 film that was a remake of the 1960s movie, which was directed by Simon Wells, the great-grandson of H.G. Wells, which is interesting in of itself. So, spoilers ahead. Before we look at the Eloi and Morlocks, let me first give a brief synopsis of the plot covering all three versions of the story. The protagonist is a Victorian English scientist who creates a time machine and naturally becomes a time traveller, who eventually ends up stopping in the year 800-2701 AD, where he initially meets the Eloi, who the traveller soon learns are the main food source for another human subspecies, the ape-like troglodytes, known as the Morlocks. Now let's begin by looking at the two species in the 1895 novel. So after thousands of generations of living without sunlight, the Morlocks have dull grey-white skin, chinless faces, large greyish-red eyes that reflect light, and flecks of hair on their heads and backs. Unlike the Eloi, who are described as angelic, childlike adults, both species are far smaller than modern-day humans, and also significantly weaker, and the time traveller was able to hurt or kill some Morlocks bare-handed. However, a large swarm of them could be a significant problem for a lone man, especially unarmed or with no portable light source, as the Morlocks are incredibly sensitive to light. This sensitivity to light prevents the Morlocks from attacking during the day, and instead with them coming at night, emerging from a sphinx-like sculpture, which was made from white marble with a single sliding panel that served as the entrance to the Morlocks' underground world. The Morlocks and the Eloi in the story have a somewhat symbiotic relationship. The Eloi are clothed and fed by the Morlocks, and in return, the Morlocks eat the Eloi. The traveller suggests that the Eloi and the Morlocks relationship developed from a class division that was present in his own time. The Morlocks are the working class, who were relegated to working and living underground, maintaining ancient machines so that the rich upper class that became the Eloi could live in luxury on the surface. With time, the power balance changed, the surface people no longer dominating the underground dwellers, but instead became their livestock. So now we have a picture of the Eloi and Morlocks in the novel. Let's look at their depiction in the 1960 film. Now the Eloi are depicted as identical to modern humans, but are all blonde-haired and blue-eyed. As for the Morlocks, they are now stocky, blue-skinned, with glowing eyes, which are still weak to light, and have white fur covering their head and limbs. One of the main differences in the movie is that the Morlock and Eloi division was not created by a varying caste system, but with the Morlocks being forced to live underground during a nuclear war that started in 1966 and lasted for hundreds of years. The Morlocks and Eloi still have, like in the novel, a symbiotic relationship. The Eloi are still clothed and fed by the Morlocks, and the Eloi are still the Morlocks' main food source. An interesting addition in this film is that the Morlocks have a system of summoning the Eloi into their sphinx-like sculpture by using an air raid siren. This would have originally been used to warn of air raid bombings. Responding to the siren has become inborn, and the Eloi now respond to it like cattle. The Sphinx has also changed in this film version of the story, as it is now an imposing stone structure with a head representing a Morlock, though in an abstract style. So in the 1960 film, though in appearance the Morlocks and Eloi have changed significantly, they are still very much the same species in behaviour in comparison to the novel. Finally, let's move on to the 2002 film, and now we really start to see some big changes. No surprise, as this is a remake of the 1960 film and not adaptation of the novel. However, as I previously mentioned, this film was directed by Simon Wells, the great-grandson of H.G.Wells. So did he incorporate elements from the novel into this movie, in his interpretation of the Eloi and Morlocks? Well, the short answer is no. The symbiotic relationship is gone. The Morlocks no longer feed or clothe Eloi, but they are still the Morlocks' main food source. This is very much a prey-predator relationship. Now the Eloi are depicted as identical to modern humans, with a hunter-gatherer lifestyle, and appear to be an amalgamation of various races. Nothing like the childlike Eloi we saw before. As for the Morlocks, they have become physically stronger and faster, and very much more ape-like, frequently running on all fours. The Morlocks look nothing like the Morlocks from the novel, and are a more updated version of the Morlocks from the 1960 film. In fact, this movie doesn't just update the appearance of the Morlocks, but displays 3 different casts that all work together as a hive mind of sorts. So let's look at them individually. First of all, we have the Hunter Morlocks. They are muscular and gorilla-like hunters. They have a powerful sense of smell, which they use to track the Eloi, and have no problems with bright light, often emerging out of the earth during the day to hunt. Next we have the Spy Morlocks. They are more slender in build than the Hunter Morlocks, and much weaker. The Spy Morlocks shoot blowpipes at escaping Eloi, making the Hunter Morlocks' ability to catch them far easier. The most interesting of this new caste system that we see is the Uber Morlock, that controls the other castes using telepathy. He appears more human-like than the other Morlocks. The one we see in the film, who is portrayed by Jeremy Irons, has a long flowing white hair, pale bluish skin, and a general human physique. His brain is so large that it doesn't fit inside his head, and instead trails down his back, enveloping his spine, which appears to be the source of telekinetic and telepathic abilities. The Uber Morlock hints that there are even more castes of Morlocks that we do not see. However, in research for this video, I was able to find the concept art for a work Morlock. I know he doesn't appear in the film, and therefore should not be counted as canon, but does serve as an interesting hint of what these other unseen castes might look like. One more big change in this film is that the division of the human race was now caused by the Great Lunar Cataclysm, as, in the year 2037, the human race had been mining the moon for decades. Unfortunately, they had overmined, and the moon began to break up, causing parts of it to drift into the atmosphere and plummet to Earth, leading some humans to stay above and others to go below, and after 800,000 years of evolution led to the human race becoming the Eloi and the Morlocks. So that's it for this video. It's been very interesting to see how across a novel and 2 films, the Eloi and the Morlocks have evolved into very different versions of themselves since their initial conception. So as always, if you've enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the comment section and on Twitter.